I'll go quickly through this last one so we leave some time for Q&As. I'm sure many of you might have some questions, but we have just have another customer who's just going into production, didn't want their name used quite yet, but it's a full-service grocery store providing not just typical groceries, but also fuel, dry cleaning, childcare. So they have a few different sets of data that they wanted to analyze, and they needed to develop an infrastructure, in this case, to support their strategic budgeting and planning. They needed to bring in the financial data from Peoplesoft combined with data from other systems that manage the pharmacy and so forth, and they needed that all be in one place so that they could use their financial and budgeting, or specifically in this case could use Hyperion in order to do their finance and planning, and needed for that to have all of that data available to us, so you could do, you could look at previous years' revenues, and you could extrapolate that forward into future years while you're doing your planning. So they decided to use financial analytics for a lot of the same reasons that LCRA did, and they did not, at this point, even put OBI on top of it. They didn't even purchase financial analytics for purpose of the pre-built reporting and dashboard content. Now, it's a natural conclusion that in a subsequent phase that they're going to deploy that and make use of that. Now that they have this, it's going to be in their eyes an additional benefit. They needed this for their strategic finance and planning. There were some challenges. They have a very detailed set of chart of accounts that resulted in a large GL table of 450 million journal entries. Not large, perhaps, compared to an order management transaction table, but large for finance. And so the team had to work very hard in order to get the performance to be adequate. They have 300 business units due to the acquisitions that they make of local independent grocers. And so there was a lot of data that he brought together, including multiple fiscal calendars and other data that he had to be married up, that the business had to work on what the common definitions would be. And so all that was incorporated into business rules within the ETL and within the metadata. They also had statistical journal entries in their general ledger, which is not too uncommon. These are non-monetary values for things such as square footage of stores, employee headcount, and so forth. And that goes beyond the typical monetary numbers that are in the pre-built content and need to be added to that. They did this on Oracle as their database with Peoplesoft 8.8 on top of Linux, and using the Oracle BI Applications 7.94 with Informatica sitting on Windows. The configurations performed here included adding a new store indicator to help identify organic growth. So they would want to have the ability to see how have their existing stores been growing from year to year versus, because they do so many acquisitions, overall growth is going to grow naturally just because of the acquisitions. They needed the ability to identify organic versus actual growth. They had an extensive DB partitioning strategy, so store procedures were executed by a component called DAC, which comes with the applications, which manages the overall ETL workflow. So the DAC then was used to actually kick off the store procedures to create new partitions and moving off the old ones. We talked about the non-monetary GL fields, and the voice configurations needed to handle your specific Peoplesoft tree structures. There was nothing unusual here, except that there was a large number of them, and the BI apps can handle it very well. There were 2 BICG resources in this project as well, with a number of customer resources, including project manager, business analyst, 2 business sponsors. They had subject matter experts for the different systems, report developers, and then some involvement, of course, from the DBA and system administration. A lot of these roles are not at full-time roles throughout the course of the project. We help identify ahead what's typically needed on a project. And so, in summary, for the BI applications in general, for these customers, some thoughts of ours on why the analytical applications and BI applications work. First of all, it's built on the premise that moving data into a data warehouse has a number of very strategic benefits relative or versus reporting off your transactional system. And once you realize that, then you also realize what's all involved in a data warehouse, and it's extensive with the ETL and the data models and so forth. So you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to create your own, or use something where a large organization like Oracle with a team of developers has already done that for you. And I think it works because while a lot of companies have lot of specific things that they do for the business processes, there's an awful lot of overlap between the way that companies manage their financials, their HR, and so forth, which allows this to be a solution that actually works. So I think that we'll go forward with leaving a little bit of time for questions and answers. And